Hi everyone, Paul here from Dusty Workbench. Today we're going to talk about this machine right here. It's called the Flatmaster. We'll show you what it does and how we use it here in our workshop. And it compares to another machine that you might be familiar with, and we'll talk a little bit about that in this video as well. Give a little bit of a comparison. And I'll also go into the cost for this machine or different variations of it. So stick around. We'll get right to it. Now, as the name might suggest, this tool is great for flattening pieces of wood, right? I'll show you an example here how we use it sometimes when we are doing things like charcuterie boards. When it's, your board may not be 100%, it might have a little bit of a wave in it or a little cup in it here and there, especially when you're, gluing up a multitude of pieces. Even though you put it through the planer and you don't want to take too much wood off, sometimes this can sort of just do the last little bit just to make sure that it gets nice and flat without taking too much wood at a time. So let's show you how that works on this. And in this example, we actually had epoxy in the holes. So that helped as well to take it off without causing too much damage again when you're putting it through the planer. Find that sometimes it might take chunks out and things like that. So using this works really well. So I hope you like that demonstration of the charcuterie boards or cutting boards or anything that, could be side panels of furniture or a shelf, whatever it is that you might be wanting to flatten, it flattens it. All right. So let me just show you this piece of wood here. Nice, clean piece of wood, nice block, nice and flat. Flat side, flat side, flat side. Nice piece of wood. Well, it didn't look like this at the beginning. I'll show you what it looked like before and what it took to get it to look like this. And again, this is just for demonstration purposes. I probably would have put this through the planer first, but we do have a jointer, so I could have done the jointing edges as well on the jointer, but I just wanted to show you as a demonstration what this Flatmaster can do. it. So as you can see, it's nice and flat. I hope that I hope that showed you a good demonstration. And what I was trying to show you in the video was with this fence. I don't have, again, my table's not set up for it. If I had a little bit more gap, I could have put this on, clamped it in, and made sure it's nice and square. And then you could have used that as a fence for your piece of wood to be against. I'm not sure if there was one that wasn't 100% flat. There we go. This is good. You can use your fence as a guide to make, so you can actually use this as a jointer. As your wood goes across, it just takes off a little bit of wood. Then it goes back onto the nice flat surface there, and you just continue. So it makes a nice flat surface, nice and square. Works pretty good. Now, I wouldn't suggest, if you're doing a lot of woodworking, not to rely on this to be your jointer, because it's quite a bit slower than an actual jointer with knives on it, of course. But it, you know, if you're a DIYer, weekend warrior kind of woodworker, this might do it. You know, you don't have to go out and buy a jointer if you're doing smaller projects. If you have longer pieces, again, you'd want to then modify your table so you have a larger surface to make sure that you keep your piece of wood nice and straight. We tend to, you know, maximum, our pieces are maybe about 4 feet that we use. We don't use it for jointing. We're using it mainly for cleaning up. So, but yeah, if you're in a stuck, you can get the fence or make your own fence at 90 degree. You get or even you can have an angled one if you want to do angles. This is something you can use. It's really cool for that. Now, the other thing you might have noticed when I was sanding the edge, you're not restricted on your height. You can go as high as much as you can control, right? Where a drum sander, you wouldn't be able to do that. You know, you have maybe, I don't know what the highest depths, usually like 6 inches, 8 inches, something in that order. I'm sure there's, you know, there's all different types of machines, all different types of heights. But your general run-of-the-mill beginner, you know, workshop type of drum sander, you're pretty limited on what you can get for a height. Again, this, you know, you're only limited to what you can control. So pretty cool for that as well. The other thing with this drum sander is that at the end you have the shaft sticking out, so you can actually put a drill chuck on there. They do sell that as an accessory at the stockroomsupply.com. Again, we're not sponsors or affiliated with them whatsoever. We're just, you know, it's a nice product. They're good people. We just want to help. You know, if it helps, if it's something that you're interested in and it helps them out, then take a look. But yeah, so at the end, there's a shaft that sticks out. Put a chuck on there. You can put that way. You can put a, you know, like a sanding mop or a wired brush or grinder, whatever you want. But of course, you'd have to be careful not to get caught on it at the end here. But it is an option that you could also fit in there. You know, it could be quite handy. You use one motor and you have yourself a nice little drum sander. Plus, you have your sanding mop or grinder at the end. Pretty cool. And it's not very loud. Now, I put tape here because I actually have, as you notice, I was doing the edge on this part, and then I was doing the flat side on this part. This is actually a 60 grit. This is an 80 grit, so you can actually, you know, divide this in different grits. I could have gone halfway, but for the purpose of what we use this for, we prefer to have the 80 grit to do the first cleanup of most of our work, and most of it is within a foot or so. So that's why I kept that there. I figured this would be nice for examples of this, just to clean off the edge for the stuff that we make. But and this is the biggest unit too. I'll get into the pricing of different sizes and everything else a little bit while. I'll go on the computer and show you on their website. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the cool thing with this is that you're not restricted by height. So if you had a piece of furniture that you built and you want to finish the whole piece nice and smooth, you know, I mean, just don't take this as an example. This was a project my son did in school, and it wasn't exactly the squarest and smoothest, but so it'll give a perfect example. I'll show you a video what I mean, but you can actually run it through here. Like, you're not restricted in regards to size or length or anything like that. So take a look. there you go. I just thought I'd give you a little example. I can see this, you know, let's say you're making stools where you have the legs that come right through, and you put your wedge in at the top, cut off the excess. You can just go over this really quick, clean it up, go to the orbital sander, clean it up again. It goes much faster on this than even with the orbital sander that we have we use this one here from 6-inch orbital from Festool. It works really fast, about 10 times faster than our other orbital sanders, but this even makes a faster job, quicker job. Just clean it up, sand it, you know, this is 80, so it'd go 100, 120, 180, you know, go up from there. But it just makes the sanding part so much easier because it kind of makes the grooves like a belt sander in one direction, not as deep as a belt sander, but it does leave a little bit of it's more of a velvety feel to it after it's done. And when you take your orbital sander to it, it just cleans that off really quick. And the cool thing is, because this is making it a flat surface, you're not having any gaps. The orbital sander is just sanding the whole surface nice and flush right off the bat. So that's really cool. Okay, so one question that came up is, you know, how hard is it to change the sandpaper on here? I'm not an expert at this. You don't chance to change this very often because it doesn't gum up. So I did change it last week. It took me about 5 minutes for this side, another 3-4 minutes for this side, and a couple more minutes to put the tape on. I put the tape on just because the ends tend to stick out sometimes, and I'm always worried I'm going to hit it and then it's going to go flying off. So it does come in rolls like this here. Voila. And this one's already been used, but I'll show you a new one. The size, you got different sizes. This one here is the roll for this is about 20 bucks. I'm still on my first roll of 80. It's been over a year. Still have some left. This stuff lasts forever. Again, it doesn't heat up, it doesn't gum up, again because of the polycarbonate cylinder, the Velcro, the centrifugal force where the paper doesn't touch the cylinder when it's spinning. So when you put your wood over, it's only hitting the sandpaper. It's not jamming the paper between the piece of wood and cylinder, so it's not heating up as much. It has that air gap in between, and it rarely ever gums up. And we do mostly pine and a lot of glue ups. So there's glue and pine resin, and if it does get blogged up, we do have this little eraser here. We just clean it off. It just extends it by another month pretty much just by doing that once. Or I should say a couple times across, and it cleans it up. And we're good for a good portion again. And yeah, this sandpaper is negligible cost on this thing compared to your orbital sanders. We don't have a drum sander, so I can't comment on how quickly drum sanders, but I've heard that they gum up pretty quickly. We get our wood from a sawmill, and they do have the option of doing planing and sanding of our wood, and they don't want to touch the pine. He won't sand the pine, and if he does charge an exorbitant amount of money to have it sanded. So I guess it's not a fun thing on a drum sander. So this one, not a problem. As I mentioned, for pricing, you can have different options. You can build your own. You can just buy the kits, as here the base kit is $239. They do have other sizes. So the $239 would be for the 18-inch cylinder. You get the belt and the pulleys with that. I'm not sure if you do get sandpaper. Yeah, I think you do get 2 rolls. And then you do have the 24-inch, which is $319, and the 30-inch, that is $359. So with that, you'd have to build your own box and your own, tabletop, as well as provide your own motor, something like this here. Switch up, put a switch on your motor, and then you're ready to go. So you can do that, and you can see that to make this one take very much to make in the way of supplies. Maybe half a sheet of plywood would probably be enough, and you'd have yourself a nice Flatmaster. Now the other option, of course, is the full kit, which is what we went with, and they start at $479, and that's without the motor. So that would be the the table and the stand and the dust collector underneath,
and all in one piece. Here we go. That does not include the fence that's on here, and that would be for the 18-inch one. That's $479. If you want the 24-inch, it's $579, and the 30-inch is $639. And then if you add a motor to that, unless you have your own, they start at $310, and I think the most expensive is $344. So not a big range in cost for the motor. And then the sandpaper itself, if you're looking at a 10 meter, they're around $20. And the 3-inch 10 meter gold, this is a gold one, they're at $31 or $32. So I think it probably would last much longer yet. And then the fence itself, you're looking at about $279, that fence with the wheels on it there. So, but we when we bought it, we went with the 30-inch and the pulley size half, and we did go with the 3/4 inch, and it came all up with taxes, Canadian taxes and all that, you know, a little over $1,000, because we also bought a few rolls of different sandpaper as well. So that's the cost of that. Now there are, again, as I mentioned, let me just see if I can find it. Here we go. And you can also buy the accessories that go on the to extend your Flatmaster, and I believe it would be like this one here, the keyless chuck that you can buy, and that goes on the end of the shaft of your Flatmaster, depending what shaft size you get, and as well as the the mops that you can buy for $28 here. So all pretty awesome if you want to get other stuff here at the stockroomsupply.com.
That's it in a nutshell, the Flatmaster. A lot of people had questions, so we figured, yeah, we'll do a video and try to answer those. Sorry if it wasn't very organized in regards to providing information. Kind of just, we saw some questions coming in, it's like, okay, I got to make a video. And so again, I hope that answered them. If not, please leave a comment down below. And if you have more questions, you'd always contact us at contact@dustyworkbench.com as well. We'd love to see your emails. If you have a Flatmaster, if you made a special workbench for it, or put it into your, integrated with your table saw. I'm pointing at the table saw, by the way. If you integrated it in your table saw, hey, send us some pictures. We'd love to see that option, because we were thinking of doing that, but just because it's so long, it would have been too long for our workshop here. But if we had the smaller one, probably would have done it, but it wasn't in the card, so we decided to go with the mobile cart and putting a work surface on top. So please, if you found this information to be helpful, why not subscribe to our channel? It just gives us more, encouragement to continue making these videos. Hit that like button, because Google and YouTube, they like that kind of stuff, and they send more people our way if people like. And of course, comments, questions down below. We have links to some affiliate links for things like the little eraser here if you're interested, and maybe some other things. We're not affiliated with the Flatmaster makers at stockroomsupply.com. We're not sponsors for them or anything like that. Just show you our equipment that we have and how we use it here. And they were a great bunch to work with when we made our order. It was during the pandemic, and yeah, they were able to get it out here, no problems at all, and it was easy to put together. So great team, great people to work with. And I'll put their link down below, because they have great videos too. They'll show you how they changed the paper on here compared to how I do it, because they can do it, he can do it under 1 minute. He's just so much good at it. So anyways, we'll see you around next time. That's the workbench.com.